just clicked on it. We'll see if it comes up. As soon as it pops up on the screen, I'll talk into the microphone. Still uploading. Okay. Can you hear me on the recording? I'll talk for another second just to see if it is coming in.
Emily, do you mind? Let's see. Pledge, and I'll do Larry. Prayer?
Pledge.
Larry does?
You were just saying that.
No, I'm serious. Ask him.
Do you need me to say anything else?
That's
It'll
how
be
you
about
get
a 30-second
picked up,
delay.
Scouted. If you're praying.
I'm not my phone, so I definitely won't every time.
It's just like the idea.
Is it? Can you hear the audio?
Book him.
Don't even question it. Just go.
Okay, guys.
Alan, you'll tell me when we're ready.
Yeah, we're just checking to see if the audio is coming through. Can either one of you guys hear the audio on that?
I do my brackets and I do it.
You gotta do it tonight.
Yeah, I need to too.
Yeah,
Will you
lock
tell
it
me
up
what to
tonight.
do?
I put mine in and I've never been more like.
It's good.
Is North Logan?
Mayor, you're good to go.
Where's the North Logan?
You're good to go.
We'll ask Alan at a more appropriate time. All right, welcome to the March 18th North Logan City Council meeting. We will begin, we have a full house today, and we'll begin with a pledge led by Emily, after which Larry, do you mind saying our prayer? Thank you.
Could the audience please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our kind and gracious Heavenly Father, as we pause at this time to reflect and express our gratitude and appreciation for the country, the county, and the state in which we live in, we are thankful for the freedoms that we have and express that right to all. We ask thy guidance and thy spirit to be with us this night, that we may make just choices and decisions that are good for all and that may be beneficial to everyone. We are thankful for our many blessings once again and express our gratitude and appreciation in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. All right, I would entertain a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
It's a motion by Emily, second by Buzzy. Ladies first. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and we'll start with our recognition of our youth city council leadership. We have Danny, Shiloh, Ashlyn, and Nora here tonight, and Ann Reese. I am going to have Kenny talk about that.
All
If
right,
you wouldn't mind.
thank you so much, Mayor. So yes, we wanted to recognize our North Logan Youth Council here today. So the Youth Council consists of about 60 high school aged members, 4 adult advisors, and a youth leadership team. The leadership team's here tonight. So they plan and execute monthly service projects within our community, and they are always willing to help the city when they seek volunteers for various activities, including the library and recreation events. So, you know, Jesse and Trent, I know I'm sure you've leveraged these youth too, very capable and very willing to help provide that staff as necessary. The youth are also provided with training to help develop leadership skills, encourage lifelong civic engagement, and promote good work ethic. We are very grateful for the services they provide to our community, and we'd like to specifically recognize the youth leadership team and their advisors this evening. So if you can all please stand, and we're going to give you a round of applause for being here and for your efforts. Please stand. Thank you.
Not only a round of applause, but also cookies
Yes,
that
there you
you can
go.
decide whether you share with the various people in attendance today. But yeah,
Our
come grab
youth
this.
mayor is Shiloh Burt, and then on the leadership team, we have Camden Bell, who's not here, Kate Bauk, Ashlyn Guinness, Danny Rowe, and Nora Washburn here. And then our adult advisors are Joy Bauk, Camille Bell, Kathleen Nash, and Ann Reese.
Nice.
So thank you all so much. We continue to look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Hey, can we get a picture with you guys?
Yes, good idea.
Oh, my.
You missed it.
I didn't know it was Mauve Day.
It was Wear branded Polo Day for us.
Yeah, you and me. At least you were Norfolk.
See, I'm okay to
So thank you, Youth Council. You guys are welcome to stay and watch democracy unfold, but you're also welcome to scoot.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. We also have cookies that we will not be sharing because of Buzzy. It's mine, Buzzy's, and Kenny's birthdays all in quick succession. So happy birthday to Buzzy. Okay. All right. Let's recognize our exemplary staff member today. No, I'm good. Today that is Karen Jukes. We finished not too long ago a party in her honor, a luau in her honor. But I'll read this from Scott Bennett. Karen Jukes has been a dedicated and dependable part of our team from the very beginning. In her 13 years with North Logan, she's never missed a single payroll, a remarkable testament to her commitment and reliability. Beyond that, Karen has quietly taken on countless behind-the-scenes responsibilities that keep everything running smoothly, from managing ULGT insurance renewals and coordinating employee benefits to organizing URS and PHP trainings, planning employee appreciation activities, and handling a wide range of human resource and payroll needs. Karen's hard work, care, and steady presence have made a lasting impact. We're incredibly grateful for her years of service and wish her all the happiness and relaxation she so richly deserves in retirement. I'll add to that something I said earlier today. Karen had the difficult task of building this position from the ground up. So in her 12 years here, she's creating the systems that we benefit from in North Logan City. She's the reason that you guys can even argue over your vitamin waters tonight. So she takes good care of us. So join me in giving her a round of applause. In similar news, the department nomination is for the HR department tonight. This is from the entire staff. We'd like to recognize Karen and Maddie from the HR department as our Department of the Month. Their hard work during Employee Appreciation Month has truly stood out. They went above and beyond to plan thoughtful activities and make sure every employee felt recognized and valued. Their dedication, positivity, and attention to detail helped create a great atmosphere across the organization. Thank you, Karen and Maddie, for all the extra effort you put in to make everyone feel appreciated. One more round. All right, let's move on to reports from our public safety officials, but make it brief, Chief Thompson. We're gonna hear from you a lot tonight. Oh, okay, you're ceding your time to Chief Goodrich.
Ow.
You have at least 2 minutes now.
Can't bake time.
All right, I'll be quick. I know that we have a lot to do tonight on that. What you have before you is a recap from this last week. From March 8th until the 14th, we had 108 calls during that week. 89 of those were in North Logan, and 19 of those were in Hyde Park. Out of the 89, 43 of those were priority type calls. On that, as you look to the green column on the right, these calls are the priority calls. And of concern, again, we're starting to see more and more of these child abuse investigations and child neglect, the CANARs, Child Abuse and Neglect Report. Those come in from DCFS. That's usually reported to us, and we have to then go and look into that. Our usual other suspects, the accidents and the medicals, are also up there. But we have started to see an uptick in the suicide threats and things that we've dealt with. Last week we had a threat and an attempt that we worked with, and we're able to help them. And this week we had just the threat. So there's some serious things going on with that as well. For traffic citations, we have had 97 so far as of the 14th throughout the city here. 46 of those were citations and 51 were warning on that. So we've got a really good ratio right now. As you all know, it's warmer, so we are starting already to deal with the e-bike complaints that are coming up. Part of what we're doing to address that, I'm creating a pamphlet that we're going to hand out to the parents as they have to come and pick up the e-bikes as we stop and talk to these kids. That's part of the education process that's going to happen, as well as things that we're putting up on our website with that. So there's going to be a huge component to that of the education part. So in a nutshell, this is kind of where our week was. Tomorrow we have a police commission meeting, and we'll be able to look at some items there.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Any questions?
Please, sorry, Chief, with your enforcement of those new laws regarding e-motorcycles, e-bikes, and everything associated with that, if you need help just putting things on social media and getting the word out, obviously you'll probably do something in the newsletter, but just let us know if we can get the word out any other way.
Awesome, thank you. That will help.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay, thank
Chief.
you.
Thanks.
All right, we have our, strategic directives and action items.
You sounded excited, Mayor, about that. Okay, I'll jump through these pretty quick. We'll talk about the community center at the end of the meeting. Taxation issues, zip code, we are still working on that to-do list that we talked about from the previous meetings. We're still making some headway. Karen did have a few more discussions with different businesses and different entities regarding those, and so we'll just continue whittling away at that. Jumping down through, water we'll go over at the end of the meeting. Sewer, they'll start doing some of the lining of some certain sewer lines that they've identified through their ultrasonic scanning of each of the different sewer lines. That actually costs us a lot less than it used to back in the day when we'd use an actual camera to monitor the lines. And he's done a fantastic job with that. He'll also have the sewer master plan, I think, in the next month. I've been talking about this for several months, and I apologize. But by the next meeting, I think they will have a lot of the items cleared up. And so probably in the next 1 to 2 months, you'll see the sewer master plan come before you for discussion. And then that will, in turn, help us with our capital improvement plan updates associated with that. Streets, they're actually starting crack sealing. That's kind of hard to hear because that's much earlier than we ever start that process. But hats off to Colby. The earlier we can get on that, the better, because it preps for all the different surface treatments that will take place over the summer months. Stormwater master plan is just a little bit behind the sewer master plan. But once the stormwater master plan is done, it'll be brought before the city council, and then we'll have a discussion regarding how to proceed and whether or not there'll be a stormwater impact fee associated with that comes with that as well. Engineering, they're working on the 200 East right-of-way documents. That's going well. They've met with just about every property owner now. And so you'll probably see some documents, I would imagine, in the next 1 to 2 city council meetings regarding those approvals for those acquisitions and those negotiations associated with that. The BST alignment, we actually went up this week, Tuesday. We went up and we walked the alignment where it will be and made some edits to that alignment. We only fell down a few times, and yes, it should be moving forward. In the next couple months, as soon as we can finalize those property acquisitions, they'll start installing or rough cutting that actual
To the north?
to the
Like
north.
up into Hyde Park?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we have a grant that we've worked on with Hyde Park and Smithfield and the county. Hats off to the county for helping with that, to go all the way and carry our portion that we've done already up through the north portion of North Logan, which we worked through that agreement in that last meeting, which is enabling us to kind of jumpstart that and moving forward. We did receive a grant for the water, which is fantastic, that we can put underneath the actual Bonneville Shoreline Trail. This will help with both water and with tying that Bonneville Shoreline Trail, and have a permanent access to that water line by having the Bonneville Shoreline Trail underneath that water line for the majority of that length, which is fantastic to have that access, because normally we wouldn't really have access to a water line up there on the bench. So those are some great projects coming down the pike. We're still working on the north end of Elkridge. We've applied for RAPS grants, and then we'll work on this area next to the community center as far as landscaping. We'll go over that at the end of the meeting a little bit more. Trails we've already gone over. There's a few other trails we are working on, including the 1600 East and 1900 North. Scott Perks helped line up a meeting with the county. We're looking at grants associated with both of those roadways, the removed paths along those roadways. Recreation, they have several different camps that are coming up, 26 different camps that they're lining up for this summer, which is incredible. And then also the Easter egg hunt, which is March 28th at 11 a.m. sharp. So be prepared for that.
When will that end, Alan?
11:01. for the older ages, 1102 for some of the younger ages. Jumping down through the cemetery shed, yes, that is still under construction. Community development, we'll go over a few things. Scott's got these lined up. We'll go over one of these items tonight, which is the Main Street Commercial Gateway. But there are several different things that Scott's finalizing right now with the Planning Commission, including the 2500 North Gateway zone amendment. They had a workshop on that, and then the Beck Farm and Fox Haven subdivisions that they'll talk about in upcoming meetings. Jumping down through economic development, Rush did open up. Rush is open as of this Monday, and I hear they're doing well. If you can, just spread the word. Let people know that it's open. It's amazing how much people have been waiting for that and anticipating going to that business, which can help drive other economic development in the area. So thanks to everyone for helping out with that. Treasurer's going through an internal audit. Human resources, this has just been a great month. That's up to Karen and Maddie again, just to reiterate what was been said tonight, but this is a great month of the employee appreciation items that Karen's put together, and it's just been really well done. Jumping down through, hats off to Scott for putting together each of these budgets and helping out with that, and then the truth and taxation calendar. I won't go over the library too much because I don't want to steal Transpire, but jumping down through, thanks to the other departments. I went through those pretty quick. Are there any other questions regarding any of the items on there?
I don't think so. Thanks, Alan. All right, we have our consent items from that March 4th City Council meeting and closed session meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Motion, I'll give it to Buzzy this time. Buzzy, second by Emily. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. All right, let's start with our action items. First, we will consider approving a city-initiated zoning map amendment or rezone of 26 full parcels and one partial parcel from the commercial general zone to the Main Street Commercial Gateway zone. The subject properties are located approximately between 2nd West and 100 East and between 2500 North and 3100 North in Logan. Scott, you want to give us a rundown?
Yeah, Alan, if you want to stop in the staff report and then under the PC folder, there you go. Just double click on the PDF that pops up there and then head to page 3. So it's kind of hard to fit on the screen here. North, top of the screen there is 3100 North, bottom of the screen there is 2500 North. Left side, 2nd West, and on the east side it's a little bit more complicated. It's essentially First East, but most of those parcels are whole, with exception to the one parcel you'll see there that's called out where we have a partial parcel rezone proposed. There's a more specific legal description in the ordinance, but this is the area that is proposed for the zoning map amendment or rezone. And then Alan, if you want to hop down to page 10 with the future land use map, I want to just back up briefly and talk about our general plan. Yeah, if you want to blow that up a little bit. So we went through a general plan update over the past couple of years, and this exhibit that you see on the screen is essentially where the rubber hits the road on a general plan. This is what we call the future land use map. And it's essentially a policy guide for how we want to grow into the future. What changes do we need to make to zoning? And what are some of the goals that we have for each district in town? This colorful map does not reflect current zoning, but it's a map that shows different areas that have different goals for different reasons. So you'll notice kind of called out there on that north portion, the subject parcels are part of what we call the Highway 91 Future Land Use District. And the reason why we called it the Highway 91 Future Land Use District and not necessarily the Main Street District is because it's a high capacity corridor. It's a highway. And it's not necessarily going to be our downtown. That's where our city center is planned to be over, along about 3rd East, you'll see there. But when we were working with the public through our public engagement for the general plan, a couple of goals came out of those discussions. And primarily, the public really wanted us to focus on aesthetics on Main Street and also on 2500 North. But Main Street, it's a key gateway into and through our city. It's a primary, economic driver for our community. And aesthetics was important to the public. They wanted us to see what we could do to improve, the aesthetics of that area. From another high-level perspective, as we were going through the general plan and identifying community goals, we understood early on that North Logan it's essentially a landlocked community. We are an infill community, which we don't have the luxury of growth and annexation like other communities do. And so we are more in the mindset of an infill community where we have a finite amount of land in various zoning classifications. And we want to make sure that we have good land use decisions in areas that are sustainable for our future growth. And commercial development is important to any community for our budgeting purposes, our taxation purposes. And we saw our Main Street and our west side of town as a very important economic driver for our city. So we knew it was important that we looked at these areas and we had the right regulations in place so that we efficiently use that area going forward. We can't make more land, we can't annex and gobble up more land like other cities do, so it makes us make good decisions with the land that we do have. So Main Street, right now, Alan, if you want to scroll up to page 4 of the report, this has our existing zoning map overlaid with the subject properties. So you'll see in the blue outline, those are the subject properties that we're talking about. The red color is what we call commercial general. That's the existing zoning that's applied to the properties. That zoning classification has been applied to essentially these parcels along Main Street for a long time, many decades that we've had that commercial general zone. It's a very broad zone, allows just about everything except for heavy impact manufacturing and some of the heaviest land uses. So it allows for big box commercial all the way down to little boutiques and food and beverage. So it's a catch-all commercial zone. And that was fine for many years up until more recently, where our general plan has identified a need for us to be a little bit more specific about the land uses that are permitted along Main Street. But also an aesthetic element that we want to encourage future development to follow, so we have a more uniform aesthetic and pleasing Main Street. So as we finished up this general plan, adopted the general plan, we also then shifted into a process whereby we implement the general plan. General plan is just a policy guide, and we needed to create ordinances that allowed us to take the goals of the plan and put it into our code. And in that process, we created a new zoning classification by the name of Main Street Commercial Gateway. It's primarily a commercial zone, but it does limit some of the heavier intensity uses, and it does include some minimum architectural and material requirements. And the intent was that we would create that tool and then apply it to the properties along Main Street as we would like to either be proactive or reactive. So fast forward to a couple of months ago, we had a workshop with Planning Commission and City Council, and we discussed where the city should be proactive about zoning changes and where should we be reactive. And there's pros and cons to the proactivity or the reactivity. But this area of town we saw as a good area to be proactive because it has quite a few what we call greenfield opportunities, where it's vacant property, it's not being redeveloped, it is just fresh property, some of it's being farmed, but it's a good opportunity for us to capture future growth under these new requirements. So for that reason, it's before the City Council as a proactive city-initiated zone change. The primary differences, as we've discussed, between the two is we're taking out some of the heaviest intensity uses. So manufacturing, used car sales, automotive service, warehousing, some of those that just we don't want to have right along our Main Street corridor. Obviously, there's many reasons for those not being applicable there, but those are the key differences. There's a few other things in the staff report that shows a side-by-side comparison. But that's the crux of the proposal. That's why it's before the council today. The Planning Commission did review it and passed a positive recommendation to council for their consideration.
Was that unanimous from the commission?
It was.
Okay.
Yep. So happy to answer any questions that you guys may have. We did hold public hearing with Planning Commission on this as well.
Will you just scroll to the example pages at the bottom of the PDF? Because I I think when we were working on the general plan, right, seeing this vision again of, or sorry, it was one more right there, Alan. Yeah, I think this really shows what the intent was over the past couple years for these areas. So just trying to visualize what could be there versus what we see in some of those areas now might be helpful for others as well if you haven't looked at that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alan.
Did we get any public input in the public hearing for the planning commission?
We did. We had a couple of folks speak to this. We had one property owner who owns a couple of parcels that are currently occupied by a used car dealership, and then it's kind of a mix between automotive service and light impact manufacturing. And their curiosity was more, what happens if we want to, or we need to reoccupy the property with another tenant? Let's say one of those businesses moves out, and we have this structure. After the zone is changed, it would be considered a non-conforming use. What happens in that regard? And so it's a conversation about grandfathering and what can be done. The short of that answer is that if an existing non-conforming use moves out of one of those buildings, they can reoccupy that structure with another similar non-conforming use within 1 year. If, for example, a tenant moves out, a non-conforming tenant moves out, and the property remains unoccupied for a year, then we wouldn't go back to another non-conforming use. Or if the non-conforming use moves out and a conforming use moves in, but then another non-conforming use wants to move in after that, then we would say no. So they can continue their current operation, grandfathered in their current scale, in perpetuity if they'd like, under the grandfathering clause. But the way that it works is it would be incremental to move on towards the conforming uses, as time changes. So that was one of the comments we had. We had Russell also provide a comment with regards to the property on the far north end. There's a water feature that traverses through that property that he brought to our attention as an opportunity for us to perhaps make a water feature or some type of an amenity, a walking path. So that was good to recognize as development is proposed in the future for us to keep in mind. So
I
those are
also received a couple calls, they weren't on the official public forum, but just so you know, when property owners reach out, we really take their concerns seriously. But they reached out and we talked through what the intent was. We went through the table of permitted uses with the zoning change, and both the property owners I spoke with seemed fine with the direction. Which one of them does have a business that relates to warehousing, and they were fine with the change. And they said that the city, they really like the direction because the city is moving towards the very valuable, storefront aspect of Main Street, and they really understood that. They said, yes, it should be more of a retail and a professional office and those other types of uses that need that visibility right along Main Street. And so, yes, they weren't jumping for joy, but they really understood it, and they were appreciative of the city for looking into this.
It looks like you've also provided a summary of the comments in your staff report.
We did have a few folks call in beforehand. As with any of these types of changes, there's a notice that goes out to every property owner so they're aware that this change is proposed. So yeah, we do have a few not formally submitted comments, but phone calls that come in with curiosity. This public comment here that you see on the screen, that was the public comment we received when the general plan was being drafted. And those are the types of comments that went into the policy creation for that Highway 91 future land use district.
Okay.
I'm assuming, because most of the time if there's a huge public outcry from these the landowners, I generally get emails. Did anyone get an email about this?
I did not.
I did not. So I feel ready to make a motion on this unless there's more discussion. Yeah.
One more question. Did anybody touch bases with UDOT on what challenges that we're going to have dealing with UDOT?
Yeah, that's a good point. We didn't reach out to UDOT specifically, but there is a process already in motion for a North Main Street access management study. And so we have an active conversation with them for this entire, not just North Logan, but all the way up into Smithfield. So it's an open discussion for access, maintenance, and intersections.
It'll be a very lengthy study. It'll start soon. They're actually going out to bid on that shortly. And I think our mayor may be the driving force behind that. So that will take place over the next several months. But a very good point regarding access, land use that takes place along there, and that's a big component that
They
the other
are
cities
extremely
approach.
difficult to work with.
I think they're
So I'm glad
super
to see it.
excited to work with me. That's just kind of the vibes I get.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
My experience has not been that simple,
It must be you, Larry. I don't know.
Must be. Or my profession.
Okay, yes, Emily, go ahead.
Let me just ask you one question.
Oh,
Can
yeah.
you go through the background as to why we drew the line on the north side of 2500?
Yeah, so the north end of 2500 is where we have the majority of our greenfield properties. Yeah, unoccupied, it's ripe for development. And so from a proactive standpoint, it's easy for us to apply the zoning and capture those new developments as they come through.
I know earlier it was looking at both sides of 25 and through the process shifted just to the north side, right?
Yeah, on the south side, it likely will be something that we apply over time. The majority of the businesses on the south side of Main Street have much smaller parcels. And so we're not too worried about getting large warehousing proposals and, some of those bigger, heavy intensity uses right on the corridor frontage. But that is something we'd like to apply in one measure to the south side at some point.
Okay,
That's a good point, Mark, because that's been a discussion point all along, is where to end these. Because Scott's also been working really heavily with the Planning Commission, as you're aware, with the 2500 North Gateway Corridor. So you have a Main Street corridor and a 25, and where do you stop either one? And they're very similar in nature, these two, in the two proposed zones. And so, yes, either way, we'll probably capture some of that element on the south side of 2500 North.
But not today,
Not today.
not today.
Sorry, Scott, I know you've been in contact with most of these parcel owners in this process. Are there any of the affected parcel owners from this ordinance that we have not contacted yet?
The other several that have not reached out specifically on this.
Just to clarify that, no, they've all been contacted.
Have all, okay.
Every one of them has been
Everyone's got a
notified
notice.
and noticed. I think to answer your question, I think
Yeah.
Scott's meaning, have we answered
Heard back
calls
from
or
them,
had
yeah.
heard back from anyone?
Yeah. Okay.
No, they've all been noticed heavily.
Good point of clarification, yeah.
Okay, Emily, I think we're ready for you.
Okay, I move that we approve a city-initiated zoning map amendment of 26 full parcels and one partial parcel.
That is
Boy,
the hardest thing to say.
That is a hard thing to say. From the commercial general zone to the Main Street commercial gateway zone. The subject properties are located as indicated. Accepting the staff report facts findings. Do I have to do that with this one?
Yeah, there's really no conditions in the
Okay.
report, but the facts and findings are important.
The
It's
facts and
just
findings.
ordinance 2604, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Motion by Emily. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mark. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you for your hard work on that. I think it's gratifying to see our general plan be actually implemented into how we plan our city. So thanks for taking the lead on that. All right, let's go on to consider an ordinance modifying procurement procedures. Can we do something different than these alliterations? Partial parcel and procurement procedures related to federal funds, along with a change to the threshold for funds that shall be classified as capital expenditures.
I'll take a quick stab at this, and I might need help from Scott Bennett. But the first portion right here, section, or Title 6-504 Procurement Procedures. It's pretty easy to say, but as you go through this,
Okay.
what they're talking about here is this is a requirement that we don't have in our specific code as we're applying for federal grants and funds. And so it's just required that we add something along these lines, or this specific language to our ordinance associated with these funds that we're applying for. These federal funds that we're applying for are associated with water. And I think you're aware of the multiple grants that we've applied for associated with that. The second item, Scott's pointed out, oh, it's right here. On a capital expenditure, it says there are only capital expenditures that are greater than currently 3,000. The proposed changes to 5,000 shall be classified as capital expenditures for accounting purposes for all funds of the city. I think Scott's had this in the hopper for about 5 years, and we're just finally making this code change because it's right next to the other ordinance. So we're trying to kill two birds with one stone while we're in the area.
Is that just inflation-based adjustment?
it's inflation-based, and it's what we have to track intensively on Scott's level, and that does coincide with what we have for our depreciation schedule as well.
The only question I have is they say one member of the upper management. Is that identified somewhere else? Because that was the one, federal programs will have one member of the upper management responsible.
Meaning upper management?
You like,
that
who is,
term
yeah,
defined?
who is upper
Where are
management?
you referring to? You lost me.
Sorry,
In the ordinance, right?
it's just in the ordinance,
Line 18.
the highlighted line, the very first, it says upper management. Do we have that defined somewhere? I was having a hard time searching that.
It's 6-504 to I,
I think that's basically just taking that from the
federal code.
federal code, but you're correct in saying upper management, and we could just clarify, after that, like you'd say, comma, meaning the city recorder or city administrator. Either
I
way.
know you guys are doing this already. I just want to make sure we're clear
But
of
just
what that actually
specify it.
considers. Yeah, that was.
If you want to make if you would like to approve this, if you do make a motion, I would include that change in there, clarifying exactly who that's referring to.
Would it be appropriate if I wanted to make a motion to clarify what upper management in the document, or do I need to
Yes.
say city administrator, city recorder?
I would specify exactly what it is.
Okay, thank you.
So we're saying the administrator, the recorder
Anybody
matter?
else?
No, just those two. Just
Sorry,
the city
Scott,
recorder
maybe
or
later.
mayor.
I was saying
Scott-
mayor, okay, so
Scott
mayor.
wouldn't be involved in the
administrator
financial aspect of the procurement procedure, so it'd be the city recorder, the mayor, or the city administrator would be involved in it.
Dang, Lindsay, look at you getting some more power.
I'm so excited. Okay, do we want to make that motion then?
I'm happy to, unless there are other questions.
We knew you'd want to
Yes.
do it, take it
Well,
away.
You know I love it. I move that we approve an ordinance modifying the procurement procedures related to federal funds, along with the change of the threshold for funds that shall be classified as capital expenditures, with a clarification that upper management would consist of the city administrator, the city recorder, or the mayor.
Okay,
A second.
motion by Emily, second by Buzzy. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. All right, we'll move on to consider authorizing the signing of an addendum to an interlocal agreement for a payment of tax increment revenues specifically related to the final year's allocation of the former RDA. Ellen, do you want to talk about this, or do you want me to?
I'll defer to you, Mayor, if you would like to go over it.
This is my
the
favorite
job.
thing that we've had to deal with this week. So, a member of the county staff brought to our attention that there's some confusion about whether the RDA that we entered into, and I believe initially in 2003.
2003, in 2007 it was enacted.
Was the addendum.
And then it started in 2012 or 13, it was enacted. but
Yeah,
it
I
actually
think
started.
like the initial RDA was early 2000s.
Yes.
Then 2007 was the addendum, and then the trigger point was, I believe, 2011. So a member of the county staff brought to our attention that there was some confusion about whether that RDA term was 11 or 12 years. The parties, including North Logan, in their reporting annually to the county, had always presumed and referenced a 12-year period. The county had no other documents that indicated otherwise, but they'd accepted that report every year. And the school district, likewise, their records suggested a 12-year period. Last week, we found a document. Someone found a document that seems to indicate that this was in fact an 11-year period. The issue is that we had been paid out for that 12th year in 2024, right? And so there's some concern that, from the county, that either North Logan City, separate from this RDA, the school district, or the county would come back and say, hey, we want our money back. That would be kind of short-sighted because, in my opinion, these RDAs exist to incentivize tax entities that will develop a property into producing more taxable value, ultimately can make property that exists as a field, which is true in this instance, property that otherwise is undeveloped, incentivizing the development of that property, which increases the taxable value for all of those entities involved. So what I'm looking for today is authorization to two things. One, an indication from the council that we are not going to be seeking to claw back that 12th year from the RDA to North Logan. And then two, an authorization to sign a potential addendum that you're seeing here, that if we can get all three entities on board to say, look, we acknowledge that there is a document that indicates a 12-year term. However, because the parties relied upon, for 12 years, this understanding that it was a 12-year period, that we just memorialize that in an addendum to the agreement. So kind of those two things, that if you'd give me some latitude in negotiating that with whatever the county deems necessary in the school district. Any questions on that?
Glad you caught it.
My biggest issue, and I'm so grateful you caught this now, is this going to, how can we prevent things like this happening again to our city? Like, what can we do to protect ourselves from this sort of thing? I like one is that I see that we're now directing all of our communication directly to Matt Funk, which I like, but I feel like this potentially might come up in a different way again. Is there anything we can do to?
Are you talking specifically about a misunderstanding of the records?
Yes. I'm worried that this will
So
come
a
up again.
records issue, it's a little bit out of our hands. This was challenging for all parties involved because we're talking about a document that was from 2007. And so we're all kind of at the mercy of who the custodians of those records. Traditionally, and I think by law, the county is the custodian of those records. They're responsible for having those instruments on file. So, I mean, I think this has kind of been part of growing up as a city and as a county. So we can do a better job of just making sure that these agreements are on file.
Okay.
But anyway, but Mark also has been instrumental in drafting these agreements and in advising on this. So appreciate having an unpaid attorney join me in the fight.
Anytime, you get what you pay for.
Along with Alan J. Luce, attorney at law. So 3 of us. It's
So
formidable.
which addendum are we,
The copy addendum,
the copy of, okay,
which is what, up here on the board.
okay, I just wanted to make sure I was looking at the right one.
But
Yeah.
as I understand, you're asking for authorization to negotiate the final version, what that may be in your discretion. and to
Yeah.
execute on behalf of the city.
But this is but this will be, it's a good rough idea of what we're looking at though, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Motion by Mark. Do I have a second by Larry? Any other further discussion on this? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you all. All right, let's consider an ordinance amending the animal control code related to nuisance animals.
So this is just a real quick, simple adjustment to our nuisance ordinance with regards to certain animals that are on our very specific prohibited list. Obviously, we have exotic animals on that list and a few other things that are obvious, that are public safety issues. But one of the things that's come up in years past is whether or not roosters are specifically prohibited or not, right? In the past, our existing language had always indicated that any animal can become a nuisance if it's allowed to make excessive noise or a mess that isn't maintained by their owner. And so we've had a couple of concerns and issues with roosters, and our code does not explicitly say no roosters. So that's essentially what we're saying here, is that we're listing roosters as specifically not permitted. They are nuisances. They always inevitably end up becoming a nuisance. And then there's a minor adjustment to the number of animals, small and large fowl is essentially in there. When you do the math, if you take that math and you extrapolate it out, the existing language would allow up to 20 chickens on a quarter-acre lot as a right under the existing math, which felt excessive. So there's a moderate reduction there to feel a little bit more right-sized for the zone. So between those two adjustments, there's also some language in there for folks needing to have chickens in an appropriate house situation with a coop and a run of some sort, but that's the crux of this proposal. Do you guys have any questions about what's?
I want to know what the peacocks did to you. Why?
I grew up with a peacock in the
He just
neighborhood.
doesn't like NBC.
Oh, this is the Scott B. Perks ordinance. Okay. I can get behind that.
Okay, nice to know that he hates them. It's
You guys
very
been to
helpful
Willow Park
information.
with the peacocks when they make noise?
Scott, I have a serious question,
Oh,
a legitimate question, I should say, not about peacocks. Looking at 16-209, line 4, so when we talk about the time of which an animal can be annoying, 10 p.m. applies, so noise ordinance kicks in at 10 p.m., so that then does not apply, correct? So this would be like 6 a.m. or 8 a.m. till 10 p.m.?
Evening hours. There's also some language in there that talks about if an animal's allowed to make consistently even during daytime hours. And it's a little bit more specifically defined if they go on for 10 consecutive minutes, you know, if there's a dog that's barking. So it defines it a little bit more specifically. I don't know if it's on that.
So where did I miss after hours?
After hours, let me open it up here real quick just to follow along. What was the line number there, Buzzy?
It's line
23.
24, 23, 24, 25. So I guess what I'm asking is, this isn't implying that at 11:30 at night, you're okay to let your dog bark for 30 minutes till midnight?
No.
Okay.
No, you're liable for causing a nuisance if the animal is allowed to cause a disturbance by excessive barking, crowing. Yeah, or if it's considered, it could be considered excessive if it lasts for 30 or more minutes, occurs 5 or more times per minute for 10 minutes, et cetera. So no, the timing doesn't have anything to do with it. If it's noisy regardless of the time of the day.
I think I'm not asking clearly. What I'm saying is, if I read this as a pet owner, am I now taking this to be opposite of the way we intended and saying, well, I can actually now let my dog bark for up to 30 minutes at 11 p.m. at night, based on what this says here? Do you see what I'm saying, Scott? Like, where do we tie it into?
No nighttime protection.
Evening, night protection. Yeah, thanks, Mark. That's better stated.
Yeah. Maybe I'm not following exactly how you're reading it.
I think he's saying, should we make this more stringent at night?
10 p.m. to 8 a.m., no,
Oh.
there should be 0 nuisance, right?
Yeah.
It's elsewhere.
That's why I'm asking you if there's,
Where is it?
Yeah.
yeah.
Probably on the noise ordinance, not on the.
That's
animal
where I'm
ordinance.
wondering if
Yeah,
this is valid.
that's probably more specific.
So that would be a noise ordinance, not an animal nuisance ordinance. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yep.
Do we tie it? Do we reference it here?
That's what if we,
Do we be,
outside of
or a violation under the nuisance ordinance?
Yep.
Or the noise ordinance?
or even number 4,
Yeah, I'm
Mark,
just looking up that language here real
refer back
quick.
to noise ordinance
Yeah.
after hours. I mean, I can take a crack at a motion then on this, include that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me take a crack at a motion then. Is that all right? Did you have, go ahead, Larry.
Sorry. If I understand this right, roaming chickens are against this ordinance?
They can be if they're within like a fenced backyard. So if you don't have a run, like a fenced run by the coop, then you can have them in your backyard as long as the backyard is fenced.
Okay, so free range on the roads is not acceptable.
Yeah, they can't just be.
I don't know what
wandering
you're
the
talking
neighborhood.
I don't know what
I
you're
only
talking
see a
about.
chicken every
Hawaii.
day.
I just about had chicken for dinner. Fresh chicken for dinner.
If you find it on your property, it's yours kind of a deal. Although
All right.
there is a containment requirement.
I'll motion to amend the Animal Control Code ordinance as recommended here with the addition of referencing the noise ordinance as primary mode of, what am I thinking of? Enforcement after hours. I don't know if that was right at all. That sounded like I made that up on the
I think
fly. but-
it maybe point to the noise control ordinance as controlling after hours excessive noise.
Referencing back the noise control ordinance for after hours enforcement.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a motion by Buzzy,
Second.
second by Kenny. Any other discussion on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I noticed no one spoke for the Peacocks tonight. All right, let's get to the fire department. And tell us who you have with you tonight, Chief.
Make them come up with you.
Perfect. Welcome. Oh, cool.
Oh,
Oh, that's cool.
that was when we only had one road. Back on that one road we had 30 years ago, yeah.
That was the horse and buggy on that road.
Or the chicken
We
crossing.
chicken, Mike. Cap it, just cap
chair.
it.
That mic just never seems.
There it
Oh,
is.
there we go, I heard
It
that.
might have just popped back on.
There's a green light.
Yeah,
It's
we've
just
got green light now.
Okay, perfect.
The one that I sent you, and we'll get there. Mayor and council, thank you. So what I want to do, and we've had some great conversations with the mayor, I think we need to go back a little bit. I need to give you a little bit of history to the fire contract and how we got here. And I'll keep it super brief, but we have new enough council members that I feel like there may be some holes and maybe some understanding. So in 2019, the demand on the 911 system here in North Logan outgrew its volunteer fire department. So a lot of good work was done. At that point, it was decided that Logan City would take over and would merge with North Logan. Logan City took over all operations for fire suppression, EMS, fire prevention. I believe Buzzy may have still, were you still a council? Okay, yeah, I know. So Buzzy will probably remember some of these details. So anyway, I think it's important. That's where it began. That's where our collaboration and the merger started. And it's been a great relationship. Essentially, the terms have been, we started at a rate, I believe, is about $895,000 in 2020. That moved up 3% annually and it's built, this contract's built for 10 years. And that's why it's super important. I give you a little bit of background. So it cruised along, and then COVID happened, which we all know the challenges there. And with that, a strain on public safety. Fire, police, hospital. In 2022, 2023, we were having to literally raise people almost 20% to even stay in the business. So the formula of this contract worked just great up until that point. Once that surged, we started getting a little bit out of whack with cost. We worked through it. Alan was great to work through. Clear up until 2025, we were just kind of finding ways to meet the shortfall. We made it work because we love the relationship, and it's worked very, very well. There was a few key things within this contract that I think it's super important that we go over. Number one, within a 6-year time frame, Logan and North Logan would collaborate on a new fire station closer to 2500 North, and the appropriate level of contribution from both cities would be shared. They would look at that together, okay? So I've had a few brief conversations about that leading up to this, but we've probably had some of the best conversations about that probably in the last month, to be honest. So we're working on that. That's a big thing for this contract. Number two, North Logan's to continue the capital replacement of apparatus needed to operate Station 120. So that's the other point. I didn't know if all council members knew that North Logan retained their engine, their ladder truck, their brush truck, and their squad truck, okay? So you kept those as, I think, kind of, and maybe Buzzy remembers, probably as collateral in case, hey, if this thing goes south, we still have apparatus. We can still fight fire. Well, 6 years later, it's gone fantastic. But those vehicles continue to age, and they were already fairly old. The ladder truck, for example, is a 1998, okay? Per NFPA standards, it is already supposed to be put to a reserve status. The engine is right on its tail, so it's a concern, right? Additionally, which we've done great, we've maintained the existing fire station. I mean, it's old, it's a metal building. We are in there 24/7 now, so the strain on that building is real. Like, people live there all the time. And so it's starting to show its wear, but we've done it. Everyone's kept up their end of the bargain on that deal. So if we kind of fast forward, so that's kind of some history to the contract. And there's a few other details, but those are kind of the key things. And the reason I bring those up now is because we've gotten to the pivotal point of the contract, of what's supposed to happen. Additionally, the contract pays for 9 firefighter paramedics, okay, pretty much, EMT personnel, both cross-trained for that, and 1 deputy fire marshal. So that entire time, well, we added a few people after I think the second or third year, I believe, Buzzy, it was somewhere around there. But for the last 4 years, we've operated 9 people, and 10 people are paid for through this contract. That's what this money pays for. And there's a few other things I'll go over with you. But the key part of that is,
It did.
The most annoying thing.
Scott's got a new battery.
here it comes. Oh, okay.
Seems like that thing goes through batteries quicker than anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what kind of batteries we're using, but.
Good for another 10 minutes.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you so much. It's all my yapping. Okay. So with that's moved along. Now, within that contract, in fiscal year 26, 27, it was circled, okay? And the reason that was important is because this budget year was the year that this contract would add 3 additional firefighters. Well, why does North Logan need 3 additional firefighters? I think that's the thing we really need to talk about, because as a measure of goodwill, really, in this thing, is if you guys, I think I've told you guys, I apologize, I say it so much, but the minimum our stations can run at is 4 personnel. The reason is even with a medical, we can only run 2 and 2, and we try to keep 4 firefighters on the engine if it's a fire, right? So we cross-staff all apparatus at Station 120, the North Logan station, with 4 personnel. That 4th person for the last 6 years has been supplied, the captain actually, the highest paid person, has been supplied by Logan City Fire Department at a goodwill and per the terms of this contract, okay? With the hopes that as time goes, right, the call volume's gonna go up, and we can see this on the horizon and say, look, at some point, North Logan will need to pay for all 4 personnel working in the North Logan station. So to this day, we still have that Logan firefighter, and we'll continue to do so. So with that said, why is it so important? So, and I was sharing this with the mayor, it's all connected. The reason we had this circled is, we preach the ISO rating all the time, right? The Insurance Services Office rating, the Public Protection Classification that we all love, which is the ISO 2, which is an excellent rating. ISO 1 is the highest, 10 is the worst, okay? Probably the next closest department truly is probably a 4 or 5, maybe more than that in this valley, I don't know. But the point is, we have an exceptional fire department. That ISO classification is based on state staffing, so apparatus staffing, water supplies of North Logan and Logan, Providence, our dispatch system, which is exceptional, and a community risk reduction program, which is really our prevention office. And we've got, I mean, you've been paying for a deputy fire marshal in the entire time. And Chief Keller has been that designated person and does an excellent job. And he'll be continuing that. So the reason that 3rd person, how this all is connected, is the goal is that once we get to this point in the contract, those 3 firefighters from Logan City would return to the downtown station to work the ladder truck, which would now give us the rating on the ladder truck that we need to get to an ISO 1. Well, why is that important? Well, there's an ROI on that for all of our communities. Logan, North Logan, Providence. With those 3 personnel, it puts our ladder truck staffing within the range of what they consider as ISO 1 coverage, okay? So that's how they're all interrelated. You win with those 3 people. Logan, the whole district that we cover, wins. So it's an investment, right? We've seen it coming. The numbers on the existing contract really aren't doable just because of the things I said it's just more expensive. For perspective, my Logan Fire Department budget between Logan and Logan Fire and the EMS system is just over $11 million. And I know what the North Logan budget is. And I know in Logan's, it's a whole different deal, right? I get that. But to bring perspective to this, that's about $2.7 million to keep our 4 stations in operation. And we look at the North Logan station as part of our system, right? Our people work there. It's part of our response area. So, with that said, those 3 people that we'd be putting on that ladder truck make a huge difference. That could be the difference to our constituents, 3 to 5% savings from a 2 back to up to a 1, 3 to 5% on their homeowners insurance and business insurances. So there's some real opportunity there in getting there. It's an investment, and that's how they're interrelated. So we don't go the 3 people. It's not our first option, right? I mean, we've shared that. We would like to see the terms and the people added per this contract. And so with the little sheet I'm going to share with you, and I'll hand them out too, but Alan will put it up here so you can follow along. Let me hand these out to you. I just feel like up to this point, that's where we're at. Now, per the terms of the contract, it clearly says if we can foresee and predict that the rates on the contract in Exhibit A of our contract together, that financially it doesn't work, or another party says, hey, we can't sustain this, or we're not sure about the people, it's clear that I have to get up here in front of you and we need to talk about this. So it's super important. I mean, that's the terms. Like, I can't just tell the mayor and I'm like, well, it's more. Like, I have to get up and share, well, here's why it's going to be more. But I appreciate you bearing with me on a little bit of history with the contract, because I wasn't clear that if everyone really knew how we had gotten here. And it's been great. I mean, we feel like it's been a great collaboration. We want to see it continue to go. I mean, terms of this contract run clear through 2030. I mean, it was intended to be a long-term action. 26, 27, though, I mean, it's a hurdle. It's a hurdle. And, per terms of the contract, we're looking at, 1.3 million for those 3 extra people, and to continue things as they are. Now, that pays for, let me just kind of hand these out so you've got these. Thanks, Alan, for putting that up. This will make it easier for me just to kind of glance at it. Because I just want to run through this quickly on what this is. Now, I think maybe one of the other things is when Alan has kind of showed the budget in the past, Alan kind of brings up like the general, like the draft budget. Alan also keeps another area in there that has some things for like repair on garage doors and little things that we may have to do to maintain the station. Here again, the terms of the contract, we pay for any upgrades through the budget, okay, through our terms. North Logan pays for just maintaining that building to keep it upright and things. But any upgrades we pay for. So radio upgrades we've been doing, remodeling of dorms, like all that we handled. So it's not a whole lot more, Alan, if I remember. I don't remember the additional part, but I don't even think it's 50,000.
I can pull it up here. Yeah, you're under 20,000.
Under 20, it's very small, yeah.
But again, with that, Logan Fire Chief, they will come in. They've actually helped us with things, I would say, even above and beyond just the general new items. They've helped us with some maintenance items as well on that building. So
Yeah,
hats
I
off
think
to
we
Chief for
collaborate
helping
super well
out with that.
Yeah, it
And with
works well.
the fleet as well. Chief has gone above and beyond with helping out with maintaining that fleet.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a good quick discussion here. So as you run down, I've got that, Al, if you don't mind switching back to that spreadsheet. So here's a simple breakdown of kind of what I've just talked about. So in the far right column was fiscal year 2025. The next year, 2026. If you kind of scroll down to where we started to get a little bit lopsided in the cost of this, you'll notice we were a little bit, our expenses were a little ahead of what the contract revenues were. We found a way. Alan helped me work through that. He paid some additional invoices. We made it work really well. This year, we really haven't addressed it. And the reason I didn't is because I knew this day was coming, because it was crystal clear that, look, 3 more people, it's going to be a big jump. It's expensive, and I'm here to tell you, I know that it is. And I wish it were different. The costs for employees, as you guys know, it's super expensive. But it also comes with professionals. Our people are exceptional, and we would intend to obviously add the 3 more that are equally good. So just wanted to kind of show fiscal 25, 26. Not a whole lot of a reason to spend any time on that, But if we jump into fiscal year 2027, the top calculation, if you have any questions, essentially I've just kind of recapped there for you. You've got 9 line firefighters and 1 deputy fire marshal. So for North Logan's benefit, just so you know, we keep our 2 lowest paid paramedics and 7 lowest paid AMTs in your budget to keep that cost down. Just as a gesture, like, hey, do whatever we can to keep that down. The part-time line there is a contribution for our fire marshal administrative assistant to helping, because here again, we treat the whole district the same there. Overtime, people ask about that. That's the FLSA requirement. Another unique thing to the fire service, we work 53-hour weeks versus 40-hour weeks. So overtime is not made in the fire service until you've gone over 53 hours. That's an FLSA law. We just have to follow it. But that's where that number comes from. It's just not a random, hey, who's working overtime? That's what that is. Benefits, they're just high. You know, I mean, I know they're still negotiating, but I think we're around another 18% increase for all of our employees this year. So that's your personnel costs. We do have some things in there for professional development for Chief Keller, the Deputy Fire Marshal, travel and training. He has to stay certified and all those things. The other things, the thing to point out, you see the fuel line. So the unique thing with what Alan just said about the apparatus, vehicle repairs, I wanted you to know, those are parts only. That line for 11,000, our Logan City Shops maintains all North Logan's fleet. That line item is for parts only. We hit the 11,500 in February of last year. They're getting older, and so but it's a great deal. I guess the reason I bring it, it's a fantastic setup for all of us. The other things, the special department line, that's a bigger line, and I could break down those individually, but I just wanted to tell you what they are. Operational equipment that goes on the apparatus, uniforms for the people that work there annually, public education. We do have a fair amount of public ed here in North Logan. We've got a team that does an exceptional job, but per the contract, there's certain things we have to do. So that kind of gives you that breakdown. And so if you jump down to the bottom, this entire time, what we haven't been charging for, the fire department admin team, you know, is, I mean, it's basically just comes with the package, you know, which is an awesome thing. Workers' comp, IT, and I know admin fees can be complicated, but truly to tell you what those are, the shop labor to pay our shops, our legal team, HR, payroll, those services that it takes to operate that station. So those things historically have not, that line item, those 115,000, that has never been part of this contract. It never has been.
And Chief, you're saying those are attributable, like that admin fee is attributable specifically to North Logan?
Yeah, those were that's what we calculated, that what it would cost for this station for the existing 10 people and the apparatus that we're maintaining. Yeah, yep, exactly. But to be clear, that has never been charged. That's never been a line. It's just like, hey, that's the reality. So where I get to here is ideally, like in a perfect world, we would love to see the three new hires in North Logan be paramedics. That's pie in the sky. That's the 1.6 million number. We can always hire intermediates, EMTs. That's what we've done. Yeah, that's the 1.5 million. And then without any change at all, you're pretty flat. Like we've come up with a pretty good number at the 1.1 million. But you'll notice I've got that as option 3. Because the reality is if we go that route, then really we are not in the terms of this contract any longer, okay? So as a formality, a termination of the contract would probably be executed with the hope that it's quickly renegotiated. But the numbers aren't accurate anymore. We've got some ideas for apparatus. Like 6-7 years later, this thing looks way different. And I think the group that put it together in 2019 did a phenomenal job. No one could have predicted COVID. No one could have predicted the cost of employees. But what remains to me is it's been an excellent collaboration. North Logan has over 1,000 calls annually for 911 service, fire and EMS. And so it's a big deal. And North Logan City gets our depth, right? Anything that happens in North Logan, you get your station. The second call gets the next closest station. A structure fire gets them all, right? So our entire district is almost 82,000 residents that we're currently serving. North Logan, I believe, is around 11,000 or so. And so you know, in terms of that group between Providence and North Logan, it's our family, right? So we want to see this work. We've got some challenges to work through here. I couldn't not bring this up because if I don't, I'm not following the rules of the contract. And I didn't want there to be any surprises at all, and to be super transparent and ask the questions. But hopefully, like, workshop it soon and get to a resolution, because I'm not prepared to look at a budget up here and say, yeah, that's the number, right? And I just don't think, I mean, I would love if you want to say, yeah, 1.6 works for us, hire the paramedics, let's do it. Additionally, some good things is there may be some revenue streams potentials down, you know, here in a very short, you know, well, I shouldn't say short future, but here in the future, there is a potential with revenues of what's happening in the district. Mayor knows a lot about that, but it may look like you know, to me, in proportion with other public safety that you're paying here, you know, it's right in there. I mean, my PD budget in Logan is within about $200,000 or $300,000 of our budget, so that they're close. I would say it's still a bargain, right? I mean, it really costs us $2.7 million to keep a station rolling. That's how much it costs for those 4 stations each. This one literally costs 1.6. It's a bargain. So that's an overview. I think we've got some work to do. And I think the collaboration on the location of a station, I think we've made some great progress there that would be a huge win for both cities. So I'm excited about that. And we'll just have to figure out, hey, if you know, how do we come up with the difference and what the solution is going to be?
Yeah, Chief, I would just reiterate, this has been a great working relationship. Logan has really, first of all, you represent us well, and we're in good hands, and that's something that can help us sleep at night. So first and foremost, the product that you provide is just phenomenal. And you guys have always been so great to work with. So I reiterate everything that Chief Thompson said. And when we spoke about this, I just said, look, let's present it to the council and let's wrestle with this as a council. You know, like, let's lay it out what our situation is and figure out, you know, what direction to take this as a city. So I think this is a great foundation to kind of start the dialogue on this. And so I think it's kind of up to you, council, to kind of ask questions and kind of explore these 2 options presented.
There are 3 technically. I want to ask a couple of questions here.
Okay.
You said that currently, according to my records that we have in the master departmental budget, year 7, we're supposed to go up. It's about 25%. It's 1.3. That option isn't on here for us to stick with that contracted amount. Do you mind explaining why that amount isn't
The
even an
1.3?
option? Yes, which is what we'd be contracted to
No,
spend.
absolutely. Because not only is it a big jump, there is no way we can pay for 3 more people at the 1.3 million. You know what I mean? Like that's just not even possible. That was forecast in 2019, right? When there's like, hey, this is what we think it will cost. Well, I think in parentheses in the exhibit, I think it says approximately 240,000. Well, what was predicted to be 240,000 back in 2019 literally is over 300 now. For us to hire a firefighter and pay for their salary, their benefits, the pension, because there's some unique charges that come with public safety, right? But that amount is just inflated so much in that time frame. Unfortunately, the cost of every person, even a new firefighter, is right around 100 to 120,000 a year total package now.
Chief, can you remind us why 3 FTEs? Why not 1 or 2?
Oh, no, well, excellent question. So, thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so Logan runs a 3-platoon system. With those 3 platoons, each platoon works 24 hours on, 96 off. So you always have a platoon on for 48 hours. So 1 person gives each platoon 1 person. Make sense? So now the staffing on all 3 shifts is the same. If that makes sense. So those 3 people that we hire, 1 per shift, the 3 that Logan's been working in the North Logan station, those 3 go back to downtown, and now they've got 1 additional person per shift. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, so 1 or 2 does not help. It really is 0 or 3 that we'd be looking at.
Well, and you know what? One helps one shift, but it doesn't solve the problem. Exactly. Yeah. Because of the nature of the shift work, it's really tough because one shift would benefit. You know, I mean, they could potentially, okay, A shift's good to go, but that still leaves you short on the other two shifts.
Were you?
The chief explained it. Not to reiterate exactly what chief has said, but this is a learning process when we were first going through this agreement, because we went from 2 full-time firefighters and, well, we had 3 or 4 at the time, and then volunteer staff. And we were making a massive shift with the way that increase in the amount of service and the things that were provided. And it went to 3 full-time firefighters at all times. So that's how you have to think of it. There's 3 on staff at all time, and Logan is providing the 4th.
The fourth, yes.
That's on there, and that's the thing that they're providing that's not included in this contract. So they have 3 on staff at all time, and that jump would essentially provide that 4th.
Yeah. I guess I was just wondering, you know, like you say, if we brought 1 on, for example, it would solve 1 shift, but I assume some shifts are more busy than other shifts just based on call volume or something.
A little bit. I mean, believe it or not, by the end of the year, it usually kind of works its way out. Certain quarters, like B shift is higher, and then another one is higher. But by the end of the year, they're pretty close. They're pretty close.
I think what Kenny's thinking of, though, sorry, Kenny, I'm not going to say what you meant to or intended to say. You're thinking more of the police type structure where during the day or during certain hours of the day you have endless calls. And then in other times of the day, you may have very few at night. The fire, their shifts aren't just for like 8-hour periods. They're the 48 hours on or 24 hours on. They're a
48.
straight shift when they're there the whole time. Like he said, they live there on that entire shift.
What did you say your full budget was?
Just over 11 with my suppression budget and the EMS Enterprise Fund budget.
What's the suppression
Over
is the
11.
firefighting side,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Chief, question for you. On your budgetary overview, you list option 1 by not adding new FTEs. The lowest we can go for this year is 1.154 as stated here in your budget breakdown. And then you talk about the hope would be that over the next year, the county finds you money for fire services. So I'm confused what you mean by that and how you're still providing the services if we were to adopt option number 1 on this overview.
I can probably speak to that. So currently, the Board of Trustees is trying to solve the problem that exists in that the county pays for the fire budget out of the county general fund. So cities like Logan primarily, but also North Logan and Hyde Park and Smithfield, I don't know Hiram if they're in that position, but where they're paying for their own fire, we're also paying for everyone else's county fire coverage. And so right now that board is trying to figure out what the system's going to look like. We'll know more. We have a meeting in another week, and there's been kind of a little bit of a slowdown because we have 2 new mayors in Smithfield and Hiram that have some strong opinions and some interest in shaping this conversation. But the proposal ultimately seems to be shaping up to be a voucher system where instead of the county just taking a portion of property taxes from the general fund and paying for fire with that, they take that completely out and they have a separate fire tax, which then gets passed through. So each city would receive a voucher based on I think it's based on like your city size, the calls for service, and your overall property tax value. That's a beneficial calculation for North Logan because our property tax values are the 2nd highest in the valley.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what that is nodding toward, is that there are some countywide discussions that are taking place that will impact North Logan. And so what Chief is saying is if in the event that we have a voucher, we would then essentially just sign that voucher over. We'd be almost like recouping money that right now is going to, say, Nibley to pay for the county to cover Nibley, and it would come back to North Logan. So Chief's saying, look, if we have some money freed up in that process, then we could put it towards these three
And it would be
FTEs.
intended, right? I mean,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
since Logan City's not part of the district, I'm just gonna lay it out here for you, since we're talking honest, okay? I feel like I can share this, because so look, the county fire district is being funded from the general fund. That's not a surprise to anybody,
Yep.
okay? If you look at their coffer, 5.6% of the general fund in the county is funding the fire service. 5.6%. Logan residents, Smithfield residents, all of us have been paying 5.6% for that fire department for 60 years, okay? So to me, it's time that something happened.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're paying a contract that's expensive. Logan City pays for their own fire department. It's expensive, right? So the hope is, through this system, that finally there's a mechanism for people that have been paying, and Smithfield is right there. They've got their own fire department. Hiram is in preparing to run their own system. So there's a lot going on with this thing. And I think, not trying to be overly optimistic, but I think the best hope is from this, it comes from exactly what the mayor said, is like that percentage is finally going to come back to North Logan, to Smithfield, everyone, to help them pay for that service, because it is expensive to provide this important part of our, that's part of our communities, to keep them safe. So I'm super hopeful, Buzzy, that,
Yeah.
but dude, that's
Yeah,
the
Chief.
reality. 5.6% of the general fund. It's right there.
Crazy.
And I wish it weren't, but it is. That's the reality. And I believe Logan's put some pressure on saying, hey,
Yeah, and I think for us, we're obviously not approving tonight, right? So we have some time to let this play out, but it's helpful to know that
Yeah.
this is in the back pocket while we're trying to contemplate how to move forward, assuming that that doesn't
Yes.
go favorable our way.
The one other thing that we discussed and the chief has brought up, sorry, I'll just bring it up regarding the station. That's the other obligation that's not even built into any of this. So the personnel is the personnel concern in front of us to increase the budget to that amount. Is something where we have to look outside the box and look at these as other sources of funding, like the county and other things,
Yeah,
increasing our
'cause-
economic development. All of these things are things that pay dividends. However, to include a station, which is an obligation of the agreement that we need to look into. In talking with Chief, I think we've discussed this. He's come up with some great ideas, but the other thing we may have to look into is a public sector or a public, impact fee. This is one of the only services the city provides where we can provide an impact fee related to it, other than our enterprise fund. So water, sewer, stormwater, we can do it for streets and we can do it for parks. It's a lengthy study to do those. But then there is also a component for fire facilities. And that might be something that we need to look at in the future. Now, our impact fees can get pretty high in North Logan. As you talk with individuals, they aren't the highest, but they're pretty high, and they're all justified because we have to provide services with those capital improvements. But that might be something to look into as well. That can't help out with the employee portion, which is tough to hear that. But at least there's some light at the end of the tunnel that we can help out with that. And then Chief's other plan regarding the replacement of the aging fleet. If you look through the budget and you look through there, I just store all these things in there because Chief's come up with some realistic things that we can look into in the future, including if we have that impact fee to actually replace some of that fleet. Whereas otherwise, we can't make that. I mean, we can't cover those costs.
Chief, I do want to say, I appreciate you laying out these costs for us. And I will admit that this is the best budget I've seen in years from the fire department, in terms of actually laying out what you're spending on everything. So I would love to continue in this vein. I can just say from my opinion, a 47% increase, option number one, with 3 new paramedics, we can't start a conversation there. There's not a way we could ever get the money to do that. And that also means option 2 with 3 new advanced EMTs at 43% increase is also a non-starter. So when we're given 3 options and then told that our third option would be considered a breach of contract, I find myself being put in a position where there's no good answer for us. And this is where I get concerned, because we were struggling to reckon with the potential 25% increase along with the contract lines. To now see that we're facing potentially a 43 to 47%, we can't do that. We have no ability to raise our taxes to cover that in any way, shape, or form. So I appreciate these numbers. I appreciate you showing us to us, but I don't think we've hit the point where we could say yes to this budget. We don't have the money, like with option 1 or option 2. And it looks like if we went with option 3, we'd consider that a breach.
And I think that's kind of a legal term of art, right? Like,
I think the
the-
formality of it, yes, but also, yeah, absolutely. But the formality, yes, Emily, but you have to remember too, we've been super dedicated, I feel like, and committed to the collaboration, right? Yes, that is the third option, because I don't want to have to do that, but I also feel like it opens the door for additional conversations. I mean, the mayor and I have already had some of these conversations. So what is the
Absolutely.
formal process? Well, here's what we do. Because let's say the voucher system does come online. Well, all of a sudden, now you don't have that type of problem, because now you're getting the money back for what we're paying into property taxes in the county for your fire and EMS service, right? I mean, that would be a huge win. I don't want to count that too soon, but that is a potential reality.
Absolutely.
And there are offers or other options to discuss here. I mean, we've talked a lot about the station situation, the apparatus situation. I mean, there's things that we can do. And ideally, the easiest thing is like, look, we need to add these 3 people, you know, and I beat it to death why it's important for all of us. But I get it. It is expensive. So I think what we have to do is prepare to sit down and say, okay, so then what is the next step? Because this isn't a, well, then Nate's leaving. I mean, it doesn't work that way
No.
in public safety. And again, in the contract, it says that we'll do everything we can to work together to come up with a meaningful solution. But this was a tough night for me, but I had to do it. You know, it's like, well, you know, we
Well,
got
and-
to talk about this.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, I think that we're broadening this conversation. Like, thus far, it's kind of been me, Alan, and Chief Thompson to say, we're kind of in a pickle here. And so this is just kind of the start of the conversation with the council to say, how can we come up with some creative solutions to this? And we are kind of just on a precipice of some big things happening with fire. And we really do kind of need a little bit more information about how that's going to shake out.
Yep.
I hope we get some more info next week, but this is kind of, you guys are getting blindsided a little bit, and Chief is in the less than enviable position of presenting this. So, but I think what the message you should hear is we've got to have a tough conversation. And I'd love the council's input to bring it outside of, you know, just kind of the 3 of us to bring that to the council, because I think
It's super
this is a
important.
council decision.
Very, very important.
Chief, can you clarify why the addition of the administrative fees in year 7 when they weren't present in budgets years 1 through 6? Was that just correcting an oversight from the initial setup of the contract?
No, leaving that out of the contract for the 6 years was deliberate. That was in good faith, truly. Like, hey, with this money, we knew that was a stretch getting started for North Logan. It was a big jump in their budget. So those things were specifically left out. Moving forward now, though, with 13 employees in that contract, in talking with the mayor, you know, we felt like it was important. Like, look, all my other divisions pay for this, other than and I take that back, my EMS fund does not. They actually credit that back for us with the enterprise fund. But in my suppression fund, that has my admin and my prevention and all those, at the bottom, we pay an admin fee for all the services that we're using within the city, HR, payroll, all that stuff. So that's kind of a Logan City thing. And this breaks it out, and the formula used is proportionate to the 12 employees and the cost of that contract.
So the original, when the contract was established, the original year 7 budget of 1.365 included the addition of these admin fees proportional to what they thought it would be at that time.
On year 7?
Yeah.
That, I don't know if they did.
don't think it did.
I don't think they did, Kenny, to be honest with
Well,
you.
not cost, but it would end up being about $40,000 a person.
Yeah,
in admin fees.
Yeah, I think that when they did it, they did their very best to forecast that at a 3% increase to saying, we hope that this is right 7 years from now, 8 years from now.
So 1 or 2 other things to include in that. So as you guys brought up, the discussion about we don't have the funds, and I hope everyone brings this up on April 8th in that budgetary portion, because we don't have all the different department heads' proposals yet. At the end of the April 8th meeting, we'll have those. And so then we need to look and see, we're usually way over, and then we have to start chopping all the budgets. And so that's when we start looking at that. And that's when we start looking at how much can we squeeze out of the turnip at that point to get a little bit more money. And that's when we have those. No.
7%. I mean, I just
No.
think when we're starting there, and I understand that that's what we're looking at to get 3 full-time employees.
Yeah.
But that is not an option we have. And as part of this contract, because we've been giving such a high portion of North Logan taxes to fire, it's because we care about it and it's important to us. So I want to make that very clear. Like, I believe the service we have gotten is fantastic. I believe your employees are great. Like, I have no problem with that. But my biggest concern here is when we're then being told, well, we needed to replace this. When we were budgeting for ourselves, we could budget in capital improvements, but with such a high percentage, I want to make sure that we're having conversations that make sense as we're doing it going forward. I hope that something happens with the county, that this can be more rectified.
Yeah.
I just want to make it very clear that, like, I'm glad to see that it would be a 47% increase, because I think it's a pretty shocking number to see. It's pretty shocking to see that it's that much change we would need.
Yeah, and I think, like, kind of the elephant in the room is that this isn't a matter of shifting budgets around. It's a matter of raising taxes to cover that. Like, and this is the body that has to sit in front of people and say, hey, we're gonna need 20%, a 20% increase or a 30% increase.
Yeah, that option 1 is almost double the FY '21 budget when we established the contract. So it is a big pill to swallow.
I think it was, we were doing some quick math, 24.5% property tax increase just to cover that without any additional increases that we have in the city.
Oh, my goodness,
It
okay.
it would probably be much higher than that.
But what would
Sorry.
holding the rate be?
Yeah, what we're holding right?
Just kidding. That's
Too
that's
soon.
not a real
All right,
question.
the one other thing to point out is just the language that us attorneys use when we go over things. I don't think the correct term here is terminate the agreement and things of that nature. I mean, that's kind of funny that we would use that term. It wouldn't be terminating the agreement. What we would do is just sit down in the
Renegotiate.
collaborative effort that we've had over this whole thing and just renegotiate and modify the existing agreement so it's brought up to date with realistic numbers that we couldn't anticipate
Yeah,
back in the
yeah.
day.
Well, and it does, and back to your point too, Alex, I can tell you're super concerned, and rightly so, right? Because we know it's expensive. We got a couple of good cards here to play, I believe. Number one, Mayor Anderson is all about collaborating. Like, he wants to see this be successful, super important to him. So it's not like we don't have people that want to
I'm
be at
glad
the
to hear
table to talk about it. Additionally, though, there might be some out-of-the-box things that we're going to probably propose to you. We're not prepared to propose them now, but
No.
could be very, very good options for North Logan City. I don't think this is the right place. I've kind of thrown them out there to the mayor. It's not like they're going to surprise her, but I think here again, I think we've got time at the table to talk, because if that's the case, then what are our alternatives, right?
Yeah,
Like,
we need
what
to
else
find them.
is there?
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
this just isn't a slam of the door. It's like, how do we continue on? And I feel like there's more conversation to have. I checked in with Mayor Anderson. He wanted to know how things was like. Look, we're going to have a conversation. So
Yeah.
So Chief, based on the language used in the budgetary overview document that you provided us and this conversations, that what is listed in that document is option 1, and then in the spreadsheet is option 3, which is not bringing those 3 FTE on this year. You consider that not a breach of, well, I don't want to call it a breach of contract.
Are you just talking about the email that I
Consistent
just
with the
sent out that said, hey, we've got a couple of options? Is that the one you're looking
Yeah,
at?
what they're referring to, I just called a budgetary overview.
Oh,
I put all the documents that you sent
Oh,
in the folder,
okay,
and so
sorry.
they're
I
pretty
wasn't sure what you were
Sorry.
referring to. No,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's
I
the
thought that
email
came
that
directly
had
from you,
option
Chief.
1 and option 2 then, right?
I think the
here's
unfortunate thing
3
is
people.
what's listed
Okay.
as option 1 in that document is actually listed as option 3
I'm
in
sorry,
this.
yeah.
But it's all
I
right.
should have
So
referenced that doc. That was just an email.
That was a quick email, and I put it in as a doc
Okay.
so you guys could see
Sorry
that.
about that.
Well, I'll talk about it as option 3, the
Okay.
option to not bring the 3
For sure.
FTE on.
For sure.
So if we exercise that option, you would consider that, it is a deviation from the contract, but since sticking to the contract is not an option on the table, then that's something that we can at least use the 1-year extension to adding the 3 firefighters until we figure out the long-term plan.
Well, and that's why I wanted to bring up the Exhibit A in terms of the numbers. Like, this is a mutual thing, right? Like, those numbers just don't work. If you don't add the 3 people, and we just go with our standard 3% increase from
Yeah.
26, which was 1,093,000, this is pretty darn close to that. I think it's
Yeah.
Alan and I talked, I think it was pretty close. But, you know, it was flat, right? It wasn't any addition. But that doesn't change the
5.6.
fact that with the apparatus, I mean, the older they get, the more at risk that budget is, right?
Yeah.
Like, the risk and concern of breakdown becomes more and more. So, you know, I mean,
Okay.
it's, all those things are intertwined, but, you know, the fact that Logan and North Logan, I don't think that collaboration is unreasonable in terms of the actual contract of the two sharing in that. Because we gotta be, this zone, so you know, from 2,500 north to 1,800 north, in that big circle, if you look at our call volume, it's just, and we use heat signatures, kind of mark where our calls are, it is lit up bright red. That is the area where we respond in North Logan and then the north end of Logan. We have that solution, we have to be able to forecast that, because it takes us, you know, 3 years to build a station. But I like that even back then, both cities knew that that was a hot spot, and it continues to be that way. So
For EMT
to
calls.
me, yeah, regardless, you know, the fire station is gonna have to be there. Who owns it? Who runs it? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
we're all talk, right?
Yeah.
We're willing to talk. So.
So, council, I think this is a great start to the conversation. Chief, appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Kind of
I
laying it out.
truly
I
have
think
appreciated
that's
everything you've
super
done.
important. And then what, I think there's gonna be some work on my end to really kind of workshop it with the council. I think we're gonna get more information about, the county system.
Yeah.
And then I think,
Agreed.
we'll have obviously some conversations with Mayor Anderson and with Chief and Alan, about this. So, thank you so much, and really thank you. If you could just pass along a thank you to your guys and also to Mayor Anderson, our appreciation for
Absolutely.
being willing to, you know, discuss something outside of the rigid terms of the contract. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, and I hope all you know, anytime you have detailed, like, questions, or like, I don't understand this, or help walk me through this, we'll get you the answers, because, you know, we do. We want to be a good partner and have a good solution, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Chief.
much, Chief. I appreciate it's hard, but we needed to hear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, you guys thought that was rough. Library, this is where it's gonna get awkward. You guys go easier than we talked about. We don't have the time.
Refused.
Ready now. Larry, I've never met you. I'm Trent. It's good to meet you. I'll squat down so you can hear me. Alan has it up. We're working on getting up our budget. We're just going to go through things fairly quickly. We don't need to touch on all these lines. A lot of it is staying the same. Just starting at the top, just for reference for everybody, the dedicated library property tax, that's our primary source of income. I'd say about 65% of our income comes from that tax. If we go down, none of these lines, I haven't changed anything on these. We're sitting pretty clean. But you see that purple, or however you describe that color, on line 10, the facility reservation and rentals. This is a new line.
Mauve. Right?
Yeah.
Mauve. The mauve line on line 10. This is our facility reservation and rentals. This is a new revenue stream for us, for the new community center, that we'll be able to rent that out to the community, to people in the valley, make some money on that to hopefully subsidize some of the increased costs that we're going to have with this new building. This is a total guess. So we guess maybe this first year we can make $20,000. It's getting off the ground. People don't know about it. It could be way more than that. I don't anticipate it being less than that. That was kind of a safe bet, but we're hoping we can grow that to continue to subsidize the facility. Other revenue streams that I wanted to touch on, some of the grants that we work with. Each year we get a grant from the state of Utah. It usually is around $6,000. It's based on the number one Title I schools you have in your community. It's based on your recertification that you do every year, staying up to date on that. Population. So we get that every year. We spend that on different technology needs, patron computers, scanners, that kind of thing. This last year we also received a technology grant from the state, something we applied for. So the state has some really great grant opportunities. Not massive funds, but we can usually get about $12,000 a year from that. We did last fiscal year apply for 2 federal grants, both of which we finished the applications, spent a lot of time, submitted them, and the funds were pulled for those grants. I think a lot of people experienced that through the last year, but we try to seek out grants wherever we can. But as far as revenue, that's it for revenue. The Thorne Endowment money is on there, but nothing's changed on that. On on the expense side, this is where things have changed a little bit. So with our wages, we typically look at a 3 to 5% increase to cover cost of living, little raises for people. This year, you can see it's more than a 5% increase. This is to help capture some money to pay somebody to help run this new facility. We're going to have people wanting to rent it. They're going to want to come see it. We're going to need somebody there to open the building, get things set up. So we're planning on hiring a part-time employee. We're in the process of that right now to help that so I don't have to live there. And then moving down through, let's see if we can find this here. The utilities line, those are all highlighted in red. This is another one of the guessworks that we're trying to figure out. We increased the utilities bill, which includes gas, electricity, and I believe waste management go into that line. We increased it by $15,000 from last year. We're hoping that's enough. The library will become incredibly more efficient with heat and cooling. As you all know, it was not that. That will improve, and then this building was built very efficiently. And so we're hoping that we can not double our utilities in that line, that we can kind of balance out between the two. And water and sewer, that's similar. Telephone, we're asking for a little more there because we have telephones in this place, and then need some cell phone reimbursements for those who will be working on call for that facility. And then professional services, this includes our IT support. So where we're going to have, we have an AV system in there, so if we ever need help with that, if it goes down and we have to make calls, that will help absorb that. As far as anything else on there, there isn't really any more increases. The hard part gets, so the library is trying to absorb as much as it can from this brand new building. We've almost tripled our existing square footage. So the library has tried to absorb as much of that as possible. We're getting revenue from the space, but there still is about a $37,000 shortfall. And Alan and I have worked together on this and tried to be as frugal as possible, but there really is no way for that library property tax and that Thorne Endowment to absorb an entire new building. So we're trying to brainstorm ways that we can close that gap between the budgets. Hopefully in future years, we're making more money on it. And we're going to live in this balanced area of, we want it to be for the community. We want to do programs there. We want it to be community focused, but we also want to be wise stewards of tax dollars and be able to make some money on the facility as well. And hopefully we can increase that and bridge the gap. But to start out, we need to do some brainstorming of how we can close that gap.
One option to bring that up, as the mayor astutely pointed out, you could just hold the rate on the dedicated library property tax. Seems to come in magically. In reality, that was a joke there. No one caught that.
We got it.
Jeez. Tough crowd. Speaking of that, though, that has not increased, the dedicated library property tax has not increased since the early 2000s. I think 2001 or 2 was the last time that ever saw an increase. I think that was actually more part of the entire property tax that went up at the time. And so that has not seen an increase. And as you all know, property taxes do not increase naturally with inflation. That takes a truth in taxation process to bring that up to date. So the only increase you see in that is based off of a population increase. That's all you see from year to year to year with the property taxes dedicated to the library. What this means is this year, we'll start looking at, in the coming weeks and months, what our budget's looking like. We had a lengthy discussion tonight about public safety, is usually the primary area that we look at with a general purpose property tax increase. And then also with the dedicated library property tax portion of that. We've also indicated to the county that those two may have, we have to indicate in February or March that we are considering, not that we're going to do that, but considering looking into property tax increases for that rate increase. This would just be a lengthy discussion at that time, if it's okay with the council, when we get closer to that date, as to what options do we have in looking into that. And Scott every year puts together a fantastic sheet that shows just basically what every single percentage increase might entail and how that would affect the average home to the community. That's what we really are concerned about, is the dollar value that it would affect them. Scott does a great job. We are hopeful that we can get that certified rate from the county 2 months earlier than normal. But if we get it in early June, Scott's just gonna have to do his best guesstimate of guesstimating what that certified rate will be. And so that's up to him. That's a tough task. We're supposed to have that in May or late April every year, and we get it in June. So I'm just saying that because that goes to say how much Scott does to help us out in making those decisions by analyzing the data in front of us. But that is one option that Trent's talked about. The other options are the federal grants he's looked into, the other state grants he's looked into that he has applied for, that we're hopeful that some of those monies we're starting to see now. But there's no guarantee on those. They aren't what they were a few years ago or several years ago when there were a lot of grants available. Right now but there are monies that are becoming more available. And then also, like Trent said, I think this year's gonna be a huge learning process with his facility reservation. They have a fantastic plan he's put together. Trent, his staff, library board, Friends of the Library, they're all putting together different options of how they can utilize that facility to the highest extent possible to provide programming, primarily public, and then also private reservations of that facility. I think it'll be fantastic. But there will be probably there'll be a shortfall that we're gonna have to look into.
And as a reference, it's about a 5% increase that we would be wanting on top of what we have. So I'm happy that it's a 5% increase when adding an entirely new building to.
It's a little more than 10% overall, I think, it looks like, but like you say.
That 37,000 is?
Yeah, well, from the approved FY '26 budget to what we're proposing for '27. But a 10% increase in expense with a more than double increase in square footage and the scope of now what we're asking you to do is impressive. It's still just hard to find where that money comes from, yeah.
Exactly.
I'm curious for us to look into all of our options, but I thank you for this. And honestly, I really hope to adjust your budget because you've made so much money that this isn't even an issue.
That's the hope.
Alan, how many new homes a year on average?
How many new
homes
homes?
coming to our
It
community?
really varies considerably. Last year was one of our lowest years
What was that
for
number lowest?
new homes. I'm trying to think, it was like 20 to 30 new homes.
20 to 30 total.
Total, now there's several more units and other things that go into effect, but 20 to 30, actually a little bit more than that, 20 to 30 just new additional homes that were built and completed within that year. This year, we're already seeing more than that coming down the pike. So we'll have more than that this year. But that, again, goes back to interest rates. And the only thing keeping people from building, they're buying lots. People are buying lots left and right. And the lots that are completed by these developers, hats off to them, when they get done, those lots sell immediately. However, people building homes on those, that's the part that's very difficult. Scott Birch has changed, though, in the general plan. We're already seeing a ton of pressure regarding the city center and other things, and if any of those come down the pike, that'll be hundreds of units if those can come in, and those would be housing units that could come down the pike. The other things, the reason that you see a little bit more substantial increase is because businesses, when they come in, that's a little bit bigger jump in that property tax. Like, that's the equivalent of 10 to 20, 30, even 100 homes if a business comes in, depending on the size of business. So that property tax natural growth that doesn't require a truth in taxation hearing.
And we've seen like about $11,000 increase in that year over year within that range that comes in on that property tax.
Cool. You have a massive apartment complex or something else that comes in, especially if it's a condominiumized project, you will see probably like a 15 to 20% increase in Trent's budget at that point. And so there is a benefit to that portion.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Trent.
Thank you.
You do a great job. All right, let's get updates on our water capital improvement projects.
I'll just give you a quick update. Jordan's not here. He's excused. But just a very quick update. The large tank up on the bench that we've been talking about, the fourth wall, the last wall of that tank or reservoir will be completed near the end of this month. That's when the pour is scheduled. And then the actual roof, I thought that would be a very quick process, but I'm naive. That'll be several months to actually complete that as they put in all that reinforcement across the entire lid of the reservoir to pour that. But then we are looking at we did receive that grant, or it's in the works right now to receive that grant, which is fantastic news. Hats off to the mayor, Jordan, Zach, all the different departments that worked on that so hard to get that grant from the state to help put that water line that actually connects this reservoir, goes up across the top part of Wheeler Crest and goes all the way up to our upper Beef Hollow Reservoir, which is way up on the bench. And that will help with that redundancy in that area, help with pressures, help with supply of water. That is a fantastic opportunity there to put that in through that grant. And then the Bonneville Shoreline Trail will go over the top, so we actually have access to that water line in the future. So that will be really a fantastic portion to have up and running. The other portion that we're looking into now is probably in a couple of weeks, we'll be able to start on those 2 lines in Canyon Gates, which is great. We'll be able to fill the tank and actually start installing the line that distributes it throughout the community, and that is a very good sign for the community right now to have those. But that would be mid to late summer if we can get those in this year before those can be up and operational.
Okay. All right, Civic Center.
Just the update is on the exterior out here. Thanks to the Friends of the Library and everyone else that's worked so hard to discuss that and put those plans together. We worked with the design interns from Scott Perch's department, so everyone's been contributing on this. We'll probably have weekly meetings as to how we can cut the costs on that and do some work in-house. It's too big of a project to do completely in-house, keeping in mind that our parks budget is very minimal compared to other entities with the exact same size of acreage. So we do not have the staff to be able to go out and do all of it. However, they volunteered to say, here's some expertise that we have that maybe we can contribute to that to keep the cost down and actually get grass and other things in this area. And then we'll probably slowly add a few other things.
Sorry, I was under the impression, and maybe I should have followed up better. Have we applied for the RAPS grant, and did we not receive it, or?
We've applied for the RAPS grant, and then we'll hear back later this month.
Thank you.
Early April is when we start hearing that, and then it goes before the county council for approval.
Don't they do the presentations in April? Is that?
Yeah, they do the RAPS committee meets in early April is what I understand. And then they make a recommendation to the county council at that point for funding. So we have applied for that, along with the north end of Elkridge. The north end of Elkridge is the parking lot.
Okay. All right. Scott, any report?
No, just a reminder, in the folder there for staff updates is a copy of what we call the Community Development Project Tracker. So if you're ever curious what is kind of being looked at, worked on within community development, planning and zoning, you're welcome to take a look at that spreadsheet anytime. We keep it up to date. So in lieu of going through every one of them individually, because they're in various states of review and submittal, feel free to reach out if you are curious about any of these projects. Otherwise, I'll give you updates just on what is pending at Planning Commission from week to week. But this next month, we will have a Planning Commission meeting where we will be discussing more the 2500 North Gateway. Today we discussed Main Street. We'll continue our discussion with Planning Commission about 2500 North. I would anticipate that some action on that topic will come to council sometime in May. So Planning Commission will keep working on it in April, and then in May timeframe you'll see that. But other than that, we have several subdivisions coming through. We have one commercial development that we're just starting to look at. But take a look. Let me know if you have any questions from there.
That's super nerdy and super cool. I love that. It's so nice.
It's the only way to keep it straight.
We don't deserve you, Scott. Okay, Scott Bennett. Okay, Alan, is there more?
No, the mayor's message, you have that, Mayor, sorry.
For April?
For April.
It's done, yeah.
It's done. Thanks for doing that. Looking down through just list of upcoming events. Craig Humphrey's retirement. Oh, Chief's not here. That was very well done. That was incredibly well done for that retirement. So hats off to Chief Thompson, Craig Humphreys, he was integral to our entire establishment of our own fire department, and he did a great job. And that was just really well done by Logan City, that retirement. Jumping down through here, Easter egg hunt. We won't go over the jokes. Fire ops, you probably got the invite to that. If you need more information, reach out to Jolene and the other individuals at Logan Fire just to provide the details on that. That's very well done by them. Again, Rush, this isn't the grand opening. It's already open. So it's open on this Monday. But they do have a ribbon cutting, and that's that formal ceremony, and that will be on April 11th. I believe that's a Saturday at is it 11 or 10 It's at 10 a.m. Because right after that is the soapbox derby at 11 a.m.
Oh, okay.
So just keep those on your calendar. 10 a.m. the grand opening or ribbon cutting, and then soapbox derby at 11 a.m. That's the ASME, the USU Mechanical Engineering Club. They put that together. It's really well done, and that's up on 3100 North towards the top. And then the Utah League. Just make sure if you are attending that you've got everything lined up through Scott. He can take care of that. But just let him know if you need any help getting signed up for that.
Alan, just FYI, on April 11th also is the Cache County Republican Convention, so.
Okay.
And in that same morning, so there are conflicts there.
Well, it looks like you're just gonna have to prioritize.
Yeah, yeah.
Anywho, sorry, I didn't have any other updates. Those are just the main items.
Okay. The only thing to update you guys on, you guys saw the letter that I wrote in response to the Tribune
Yes.
article.
That was
I sent that
awesome.
to a bunch of, and credit to Scott and Alan who kind of gave me the talking points to put into that, but I also sent that to other mayors in the valley to just kind of give them the words, right? Like seems to be an aggressive campaign that really isn't rooted in reality. So the same developer reached out to Senator Wilson and Representative Peterson to see if they could cajole us into doing something different. So I just passed along that letter, but
Hard to argue with the facts in your email, like, this guy's just spitting out garbage and
They
you're
won't
actually
let me
coming
do
back
what
with
I
facts,
want.
so,
It's
yeah.
like-
yeah, it's pretty frustrating. So anyway, we'll see. I haven't heard back from any of
we don't
those
wanna work.
parties, so we'll see. And then, yeah, that's really just the main thing. I have a rec meeting next week that I'll report on with you guys. And then fire a week from Thursday. So, oh no, Rex, I think this Friday. So anyway, I'll let you know how both those go. All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Emily, second by Buzzy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Fast.